Joshua and I are doing a practice session of something called Tui Shou, or pushing hands. We're using a light rubber ball to practice connecting with each other. Actually, this is an exercise that you could do with us. Believe it or not, you could follow us. If you've got your own rubber ball, you could go grab it now. If you don't have one, don't worry about it. You can just use your open palm and your imagination. So here's how this would work. Go ahead and face us like this. If you haven't already gotten up out of your chair, this is a good time to do that. I'm going to put one foot forward. It doesn't matter which foot, and it doesn't matter whether the ball is in the left hand or the right hand. Just basically do what you see. We'll start off with just imagining that your hand or your ball is connecting like we were, palm to palm on either side of the ball. Now, press into that ball. Imagine the feeling of the pressure, of the little bit of give that the rubber ball has as you push into your side. Or if you're holding a rubber ball, imagine the feeling of the pressure as I push in to you. Now, all I want you to do is follow me. I'm going to just establish myself as the leader of the exercise, and you just follow wherever I go. Just do what you see. If I go this way and you wind up going this way, it doesn't matter. What matters is getting into the practice of coming back to following. And we're going to talk more about that in today's lesson. Here we go. So we begin with something very easy, just side to side. I don't want to tell you too much because I want you to focus on just following. Nothing tricky to begin with. Side to side. No rush, no hurry. Come back to center. How about this direction? Just up and down. That's all there is. Side to side, up and down, basic directions. The complexity of the movement doesn't really matter as much as whether you're actually just following. All right, come back to center. Here's another direction. Forward and back. Or we might call it in and then out again. The idea, again, is just that you're following. It's a fundamental skill in Tai Chi. All right, now we're going to come back to center and get a little bit more interesting. Goes up and around and down, big circle. All the way around one more time. Changing elevation, changing direction as we go back this way. Change direction again, around, halfway through the circle, stay with us. Side. Around the circle again. I'm actually giving you a lot of information that I might not always give in this game. Let's see if you can just follow wherever I go. And back and forth. And rest. So, seems like a simple enough game. And yet, this is the beginning of a very important aspect of Tai Chi, the aspect that takes your movements out of your own body, out of your own space, and connects with another person. And we're going to talk all about that in this lesson. Most people have only seen the solo version of Tai Chi, and so that's what's in their mind. That's how they appreciate what Tai Chi is. A solitary figure out in the park in the misty morning doing their soft dance. But Tai Chi curriculum actually involves many more pieces, and one of the important pieces is the interactive version, a game of Tai Chi done with two people that traditionally is called Tui Shou. In English, this means to push on the hand. To push the hands, pushing hands. Today we're going to examine this particular game so that you can learn the interactive process here. It's a very important part of understanding what Tai Chi is all about. In fact, an old Tai Chi saying says that your solo forms, your routines, your dances is the kung fu or high-level work of knowing yourself. But Tui Shou is the kung fu, the high-level work of knowing others. Or maybe more appropriately, of knowing how to interact with others, how to get along with others. So if you want to learn how to get along with others, you'll learn how to play this game. To play this game today, you're going to need a couple of tools. Something very simple, like a simple rubber ball. If you don't have one, maybe you could search around the house for something else that would work, like a cantaloupe here. It's about the right size. You can fit that in the palm of your hand. If you don't have either one, don't worry about it. An open palm will work just fine. You'll see more about that in the next lesson. I'm here with my very good friend, person that I'm very honored to know, my friend Joshua Grant, who is a master at Tai Chi. He is the head instructor, the founder of the Boston Tai Chi Kung Fu Academy Institute. He is a world champion. He's a national champion in Tai Chi. He has competed for the U.S. team. And he's a wonderful partner to play a game with that we're going to play today. So we're literally going to play a game for two, a Tai Chi game for two, that is traditionally called Tui Shou, or pushing hands. And the game is traditionally or conventionally played almost skin to skin or sleeve to sleeve, palm to palm, in which the two people are pushing, pulling, nudging, sliding, trying to find a point of advantage where they can uproot and upset their opponent. If you remember that the tactics of Tai Chi as a martial art is the exertion of leverage to upset your attacker, your opponent. But the question is, when is exactly the right moment to exert that leverage so that I'm not trying to use force against force? Another important principle of Tai Chi, remember, is that softness overcomes hardness. So I don't want to destroy my Tai Chi martial art by using hardness against hardness. I want to use softness against hardness. So the game of push hands teaches us sensitivity, teaches us how to know exactly where the moment comes when I can exert my leverage and it will have the maximum effect with a minimum of effort. And so we play this game. Now today we're going to start off with a version of this game called Tai Chi Fit Connect. I find that it's a much more easy way to get into the game of push hands because it separates us a little bit and allows us to focus on the first two important principles of classical push hands, which are known as to connect, to actually get together, and then to follow. There are two other principles which will come on later, and those are called flow, as in flow together, and merge, which is a deeper version of flow when we actually start thinking and moving and maybe even experiencing as one rather than as two separate people. This is when you are truly understanding the kung fu of knowing others. So here's how we begin. We're only going to need one ball to start with. We start facing each other. We're using the same foot forward, so I have my right foot forward, he has his right foot forward. It doesn't matter which way that you start with. We both have our palm on the ball in such a way that we begin sort of silently, softly, quietly, trying to feel the connection in there. In other words, if I was too light, I might drop the ball. If I was too heavy, I might squish the ball. These are what are classically known as the two most common mistakes in this game of push hands, is pushing in too hard or resisting being pushed in, or being too light and not really connecting. So here's the first moment. I have my hand on the ball and connect. Now I might begin some simple back and forth movements like we did in the first drill. Just back and forth. And the purpose here of the back and forth is very simply to feel the connection. So where were you feeling the connection? Where is this place? Literally right here in the palm of the hand. And if you cast your mind, so to speak, into the palm of your hand, you begin to notice that it's not universal. Like there's actually some points of contact which might be feeling the pressure a little bit more than the other. We go side to side. Now I begin to experience that pressure slightly differently, don't I? And as I let my hand roll slightly, just be very natural and relaxed on the ball, that pressure changes. And so when we say connect, it is to notice where that point of emphasis is. Theoretically, in the tradition of Tai Chi, this is more than just physical pressure. This is where the energy of his body coming through the ball is connecting to the energy of my body. And so I want to feel the energy connection as much as the physical connection. Now, the next phase is to extend this into the second principle, which is to follow. And so here is where the game aspect becomes, because I'm going to set up roles. So I'm going to start out as the role of the leader. Joshua will accept the role as a follower, and then in a moment we'll reverse that. The reason why we set up roles is because of a basic principle which I talk about in all my classes, which is this. We get best at what we practice most, and we get worse at what we practice least. So if I want to get good at following, and another word of this, by the way, in Tai Chi is called listening. If I want to get good at listening, I need to practice it. Right? So he's going to get to practice listening or following first, and I'm going to practice second. So literally, he is going to move with me wherever I move. Now this time I'm not going to tell him where I'm going. I am literally going to just move, and he's going to follow. In traditional Tai Chi, we actually spend years and years just getting good at this particular skill of following. We call it giving up yourself to follow others. So why does it take so long? Why do we invest years and years? Because if you play this game, you start to notice that there's always some piece of yourself that wants to take control, that wants to lead, that wants to be in charge. And we're asking ourselves to do something very, very difficult, which is to give up on that. In essence, to give up control is sometimes thought of as losing. I don't have to be the winner. But in Tai Chi, we say, invest in loss. A small loss of this nature leads to a small gain. A big loss, in other words, really getting good at giving up yourself and following, leads to a big gain. All right, now we're going to switch roles. So Joshua's going to start leading, and I'm just going to follow. So as I follow Joshua, as you follow us here in this game, or if you're working with your partner, if you follow the partner, you'll notice that to really get away from trying to lead, trying to take control, I have to get softer and softer. I don't want to push too hard, right? That's one of the two big mistakes, pushing too hard or resisting the push. But there is that fine line in which I don't push hard enough. And if that happens, if I lose contact with the ball, then what I've actually done is disconnect. So we go back to the first principle again. Oh, we got to go back to the first point. Connect. Really make sure to connect. Stay connected. Never let this go. It's just like any really good relationship. You never let go of that connection that you have between the two of you. Don't want to push too hard. Don't want to force yourself into the relationship, but you don't want to get too light and back away from the relationship. You want to have just the right amount. That's how you learn to follow. The ball gives us a bit of a space between us so that it doesn't get too aggressive or too intense. It absorbs the energy, if you might say. Gives me something big to focus on so that I can see what's going. Now, so far, we have done what we call stationary Tai Chi Fit Connect. We can also take this into motion. I just follow Joshua. If he decides to move, I just move with him, whatever direction he's going. Back and forth, or in any direction he wants to go. When you start to feel more comfortable and confident in this game, it doesn't matter which direction the ball goes in, and you can start making larger and larger movements, more varied, more directions, more options. See, a little piece of me there just popped in and wanted to take control. Did you feel that?
I liked it.
He's so generous. But that's the kind of thing. And oftentimes your partner you guys can have a conversation while you're doing this game. So he's, I felt, like I can feel how soft Joshua was getting. He's normally very soft in his Tai Chi. But I sometimes wonder, like, how connected we are. Is it too soft? I don't know. I don't have the answer to that. That's all as part of the game. All right. When you play this game, one of the things that we always do is we give acknowledgement to the partner that we have. We use our traditional Tai Chi salute, or if you want to use the ball, you can use the ball as a salute like this. Because in giving respect and gratitude to your partner, you acknowledge the fact that you can't learn about connection, you can't learn about following, giving up yourself, or any of the other principles without your partner. And so they are an important part of your Tai Chi experience. Joshua?
Thank you for inviting me to play.
Thank you. Tai Chi Fit Connect with the balls is a game that you could play for a long time. But at some point in time, you might want to progress to the more conventional or old school version of Tui Shou, in which we put the balls down and we just go literally hand to hand. So once again, we do start the same way, where we acknowledge and give respect to our partner. I really prefer to call them partners rather than opponents, because you're learning from each other rather than trying to fight with each other. Although traditionally, this is a part of the sparring training for Tai Chi as a martial art. We step forward with the same foot, so I'm using my right foot forward, although we could easily switch there and go left foot forward, but we both step forward with the same foot. And what that does is gives us a bit of an overlapping small lunge position here. I'm able to shift my weight forward and back, so while the front knee bending a little bit, front knee straightening a little bit to allow me to shift my weight. If I have my right foot forward, then I'm going to extend my right hand and we connect wrist to wrist. And so just like in the game of Tai Chi Fit Connect, my first order of business is to feel that connection, to feel that engagement, something that is not quite pushing in, but not quite letting go, something that is engaged or connected, right? Now, in conventional pushing hands, in classical pushing hands, we don't establish a leader and a follower. Both people usually start feeling their way into the exchange. But for today, we're going to establish this leading and following action. So I'm going to start out with Joshua as the leader and me as the follower, and I'm just going to follow his motion. This is a one-handed version, I might add. In just a moment, we'll progress to a two-handed version. So what's going on right now? We're feeling our connection. I'm trying to find just the right amount of pressure. I don't know it yet. I don't know it at my first touch. It may take me a moment to really find that point of energy that's coming out there, or the space of energy. Sometimes you feel it Josh and I were talking about this yesterday. How did you describe that?
About the esoteric philosophy of Tai Chi having real-world applications that give you these seemingly magical powers.
And these magical powers, seemingly magical powers, is in the sensitivity to where the energy goes. All right. Now, this one-handed push could quickly become a two-handed push by taking the free hand there and placing it on the elbow. Now, this is only temporary, it's time being, because after I follow him for a while, I'm going to let him start, because again, I'm just going to continue to allow him to be the leader here. He may decide to go exploring and separate the hands on a journey towards the exertion of leverage. right? If he gets me into a position where he's able to, he may exert some leverage and knock me off balance. Before we get to that point, though, let's talk a little bit about that separation, the action at this point right here, which means it's a great time for the action cam. So what I want us to take a look at is the exact point of connection here and what happens when we begin to separate the hands. Sometimes this also happens when we're just acting in the game together. What we have here is 3 specific techniques known as the pivot, the roll, and the slide. The first one, the pivot, is when the 2 hands stay together on a single point of connection, but pivot around each other. The second technique, the roll, is when you see the hands, the arms, literally rolling over from top to bottom, from bottom to top, palm down, palm up, rolling in this direction. And the third technique is called the slide, in which we can see the arms sliding forward or sliding back or even sliding around, right? And so a combination of these 3, the pivot, roll, and the slide, is how you will separate from your partner's connection and eventually find yourself on its way to your partner's body, your torso. So I'm going to let Joshua do this separation with a pivot, roll, and slide. And suddenly there he is right there on my torso, hitting my center of gravity and exerting leverage. Here's another version of that where I'm going to do the same thing with a combination of the pivot, roll, and slide. It slides right up, and there I am, giving me the opportunity to exert leverage. And that's how we make the separation. So the first skill that we're practicing is to stay connected as much time as you need to feel the point of engagement. But then at some point, I'm just going to follow wherever he goes. And even if that means separation, now I want to find that point of engagement in 2 hands. Right? This is also a skill that sometimes Tai Chi players take years and years to practice because, again, there is that little piece of me that says, oh, he's going to get me. And so I want to exert my own energy in there. I want to start leading instead of following. But that teaches me very little, right? So there is a position where Joshua can exert leverage right there. And so in the classical version of Tui Shou, the point would be made, the game would reset. So if you're doing this with a partner, let's start from the very beginning. Salute and engage your partner. Step forward and touch wrists. The other hand comes to the bottom of the elbow, and we start with conventionally 3 basic circles. This just gives us time to feel that connection. Right? Oftentimes in this connection, I learn something from my partner. Is they feeling stiff or nervous today? Is their energy up or down? Joshua always feels so nice and relaxed in here. Now, this time around, I'm going to take, or maybe not, I will still take the role of follower. So if this occurs to you, what you want to do is to press in just the right amount into the partner's hands so that you're still engaged. And then now I'm doing it on 2 fronts. And you can continue the movement here as I just try to stay connected and follow wherever they go. Now here's an important distinction. You'll notice that last time Joshua separated and got right to a point where he could exert leverage. Following does not necessarily mean giving up. Following does not mean just allowing them to go wherever they go. In fact, as he pushes forward towards me, I might just move my body out of the way so that he has no place to exert leverage. I'm still connected, however, I'm still following, and there's that fine line between engaging and resisting or engaging and leaving. I'm just following. Right? Now, we're going to talk about the third basic principle of Tui Shou, of push hands, which we call flowing. Now, we talked about flow in the context of our solo forms, our individual practice. Now I want to, however, extend that into a state of being between the 2 of us. We start to develop a rhythm, if you will. We start to develop a place where we feel the motions together. We're moving together. We're not fighting together. We're playing. He may, try to find that point of leverage. He is moving, he is exploring, he's challenging, he's testing, and yet we're not stopping, we're not getting to a place of force against force. It's still softness overcoming the hardness. Now, how does that look? How can you tell? Well, one way that you can tell is if there's a certain synchronization of motion, right? There's a certain rhythm to the motion that is equal on both sides. One of us isn't moving fast while the other one's moving slow. We're both moving at about the same pace. We both feel like we're in sync with each other. The other aspect here is a sense of timing. As he goes back, I go back and forward in about the same rhythm. There's no both coming together in one jerk or disconnecting and reconnecting. The timing is the same. A third and very important aspect is the breathing. Right? If you find yourself playing this game and noticing that you're holding your breath, then you are not in flow together. And the fourth one that you can take a look at is body language. So if you find yourself with your shoulders up to your ears like this, or your jaw clenched,
It's a bad sign.
it's a bad sign. It's going to tell you I'm not really in flow with my partner. Now, once you've played this game, in particular, if you play this game with a friend or a person that you've known for a long time and played with for a long time, this state of flow begins to deepen. Right? It's not something that you can see on the outside, it's something that you can feel on the inside. After a while, you begin to notice that it's almost like you knew exactly where your partner was going to go, even without any telltale signs. You begin to wonder whether or not, did he move that direction, or did I move in that direction? Did he initiate that motion? Did I? I don't know. Because we're merged on such a level that I can't tell where his motions, his thoughts, his energy ends and mine begins. And this is what's known as merging. That's the fourth aspect. It's an aspect of Tuisho of push hands that you might not get to for a long while of practice. But I'll tell you what, the game is a lot of fun on the journey there. Thank you so much.
My pleasure.
Tuisho is a very important part of Tai Chi, and it's a good way to get into Tuisho by using the Tai Chi Fit Connect game. Keep practicing safely so that you can come back for another engagement with your partner. This is what a classic game of push hands looks like. First we step in and engage, and then the fun begins. Ooh! I wasn't very good at following there. I cheated. Almost got myself that time.
Very good.
Tell you what, as you can see, this game is pretty intense, especially when two people are really committed to going at it. And it's a lot of fun for two people who've been practicing for a long time and who have a good relationship with each other. But for beginners, this is often too confronting, too intense a game. And it's the reason why a lot of new Tai Chi people actually leave the practice of Tai Chi. Now, as you recall, Tuisho is an important aspect. It's at least 50% of the entire curriculum of Tai Chi itself, because although the solo forms of the Kung Fu, the high-level work of knowing yourself, it takes Tuisho to learn the lessons of knowing others. As a martial art, this is exceptionally important. I want to know where he is, what he's doing, what he's thinking, so that I can be in just the right place at just the right time, taking advantage of his moments of being off balance, to exert leverage in the most effective way. But if I'm confronted by this game, and I don't play the game, if I leave, I never learn those lessons. Which is why we invented the game called Tai Chi Fit Connect. In this game, we use the ball as sort of a bridge, a connecting point between the two of us, rather than jumping right into wrist to wrist or arm to arm. And now it's the ball which is the focus of our connection. It's the ball which gives me a little separation, a little bit of space. It absorbs the intensity. From a traditional point of view, we could even say it absorbs the chi energy so that I don't get overwhelmed by Joshua's massive chi over there. And it makes the game a lot more fun. You spend a lot more time with it. You can take the time to feel the tactile sensations of connection and then learn how to circle, how to follow. Because if you don't learn how to connect, if you don't learn how to follow, you'll never get into the deeper states of flowing with a partner and then even into merging. And that's the reason why we play Tai Chi Fit Connect. Want to go again?
Yes.
Let's do it.